everyone. Hello, all. Welcome to this November 8th through 10th edition of Show Business. I come to you, as always, as CP.
I'm Jaime and Fuego from Infuegotainment and the Horror Show channel.
Hello, and I am Lindsey of My 2 Cents of Nonsense, and I saw no new movies this weekend. I'm useless.
Well, are you still ducking fires? I mean, there's that, right? There's
Yeah, there was a little bit of that. It was kind of a shenanigansy week. Like, there's no fires too nearby us, but there was, I don't know, we lost power a little bit here and there. It was a week.
For those of you who don't know, Lindsey's out on the West Coast, and you know, apparently, just a big cinder box.
Hey, the parts that aren't a cinder box are pretty.
Sure, what's left. So before we get started, I just want to say hi to everyone in the YouTube chat. What's up, Tim? What's up, Brian? What's up, Felix? What's up, Roger? What's up, Sandra? What's up, Monty? Manhammer? What's going on? That's you, Fuego. I won't say hi to you. What's up, Mike? Thanks for the support. What's up, Mark? I think we're caught up. Every Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern on the WILIscredia YouTube channel, or on your local podcasteries. The links are not down below for the podcast. Just search Show Business and you should be able to find us.
There's a description on the podcast's part. You know,
Sure.
so they could follow links and
I
stuff.
think tags. We have tags on there too. So if you search Show Business or Box Office, you should be able to find us. So before we get started, let's go over the numbers, and shockingly so. Before we get started, to all our veterans out there, happy Veterans Day. I think this weekend played into the holiday weekend. Midway came in first with 18 million. Doctor Sleep, shockingly, in second with 14 million. Playing with Fire, 13 million. Last Christmas, 11 million. And Terminator Dark Fate all the way down to fifth with another 11 million. Yikes.
Hey, Terminator! Yeah. It held it by its pinky. It's holding on to that thing. Its little robot pinky's holding the whole thing in the fight. Good for it.
It just doesn't seem like people wanted to go to the movies this weekend based on like the total box office numbers. There was no big smashing success. Even Midway at the number one. I mean, 18 million for the number one. I mean,
yeah,
we are far from summer, y'all.
What's weird is, do you think, I mean, we discussed this last week, but do you think if Dr. Sleep was released last week for Halloween, would it have made a difference?
Yeah, I mean, probably.
Maybe another 5 or 10, but I think in general, this shows that people probably didn't, especially the casual moviegoer, didn't really know what it was, despite the connotations in the marketing campaign and the visual connections they tried to make on a lot of the posters and how they changed their marketing, a month or so out. People still didn't know what the heck this was, and maybe a lot of people love The Shining so much, which I personally don't, and I know a lot of people think it's blasphemy that I feel that way because I work for a horror channel, but I'm entitled to my opinion, and I'm a Cy King person at the end of the day, a Tower junkie and all that jazz. So I just don't think the casual horror fan was excited about a Shining sequel. They were like, nope, it's perfect. There's no need for a sequel. Why the hell are they doing this? I think a lot of people might have felt that way.
Yeah, I could actually say for a fact, I know a couple of people that did kind of write it off just because of that, even though they said, hey, the trailer looked cool, but then suddenly it was The Shining, and I'm like, no, hold on, it's supposed to be good. I've heard good things.
And there's so many callbacks, but all of the callbacks there's a few at the beginning of the film, and then there's a lot in the third act. But I mean, a good 2-hour chunk of the film is its own thing, and it's so Flanagan, and it's fantastic. I talked a little more lightly about it, but I saw it again today, and I was much less judgmental of the alterations and much more accepting because I love the book. And so I'm really disappointed that in a year where, King is, bigger than ever, obviously, with a new book and new adaptations, new TV shows, all this different stuff, that this one, which I think is probably the best King thing that was released this year, has just languished like this. So,
what? See, I'm trying to think. So, considering that it didn't even come in first place this weekend anyway, you almost gamble and say, all right, put it up last week because of Halloween, and put it up against Terminator because nobody was happy with how that went. There was one horror movie, Countdown. Is that even?
Oh yeah.
Is that even it?
I was at it was out a week or two ago, I think, was when it first was released.
I think it came out the week before Halloween. I could be wrong.
Is that even in the top 10
I believe
anymore?
it did.
No, it is in 12th place.
12th place. Which I guess.
Which is why it's naturally the movie that I saw this weekend, because I should definitely be watching the movie coming in 12th place for our box office show.
Yeah, that's 2 weeks old too. So,
Yeah, exactly.
So quick summary, Lindsey. How is Countdown, the horror movie?
I enjoyed it for what it was, but it was not a good movie. It feels very much like oh God, The Ring made a lot of money. We should make our version of The Ring. And this was like supposed to come out in 2004 or whatever, but they just like digitally added in cell phones or whatever just to like justify its release in 2019. I mean, obviously they didn't. But you know what I mean? It very much feels like a movie that's out of
the
time.
app gimmick.
Yeah. And it's, literally. And it's, and the other thing is I'm also having just trouble just remembering it. It's so generic and interchangeable. So you download the app. It tells you how long you have to live, so, and there's like a user agreement you have to take that you won't use this knowledge to try to circumvent your own death. And there's a couple of people that are like, oh, you're going to die in 2 hours. And they're like, oh, I'm going to die in 2 hours. Maybe I shouldn't get in the car with the drunk asshole. And so they decide to walk home, and that violates the terms and conditions.
What?
So now instead of dying in a car crash with the drunken idiot, now they're just getting killed in their home. I'm just like, okay,
So it's got a Final Destination type vibe, but just like a cheesy PG-13 sort of attempt at it.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah,
I love those Final Destination movies. I don't care if they're schlocky. I mean, they're fun.
I actually like the gimmicky. What are those Google Hangout movies that are gimmicky as all hell?
Unfriended.
I actually enjoy those. They're going to be dated as all hell in a couple of years, but I was all right with those.
I agree too. I like Unfriended, and Final Destination has a special place in my heart.
The first one especially. Yeah. I mean, first one's fantastic.
I even like the third one in a weird way because of its cast and how
That's the roller coaster one. Yeah. Okay.
Mary Elizabeth.
We're like, we don't even care. We're just gonna lay everything on thick. Just not even gonna try to be subtle here.
I still think maybe the fourth one, the race car one, was that the fourth one? The race car one, the Final Destination?
4 and 5 I mix up all the time. One of them's a bridge and one of them's a racetrack.
Supposedly the bridge one's really good. I've heard
that's
that.
the 3D
great
one.
Ending that...
What?
No. 4 was 3D. 5 has a good twist, right?
Yeah, that's the ending that connects to the first movie, and it's really cool, actually. It kind of saved the film for me, where I'm like, this is okay. The kills are a little more on the generic side, but then when that twist at the end, with the twist, I was like, okay.
Wait, which is the one with the bridge? The bridge is the fifth one.
The fifth one that's got the crazy.
But it's
twist,
not in 3D.
No. I mean, it might have been, but like the fourth one is the one that we're like 3D.
Yeah, and it was the Final Destination. Like, this is actually the final one, and they're like, no, we're gonna make a fifth one. Sorry, we lied to you.
That classic horror gimmick of this is the last one. Psych.
Lindsey, you also saw something that came in 11th, which is
I did.
Jojo Rabbit.
I saw probably the best movie of this year, like you just said, Jojo Rabbit. I love this movie.
So good.
I just like start to finish. I would either be crying or had a big goofy smile on my face. I like there's so many scenes with like they just did such simple things, but they just punch you in that gut so hard you're crying, and then the next scene you're laughing. It's kind of incredible.
The tonal shifts and the way they achieve them is incredible. Like it's like you said, you're giggling, you're laughing, you're having a good time, and then Right, World War II. from Germany's perspective. Okay.
It's still not a film that I think could be considered mainstream, even if it does eventually get a wide release. It's still a film that people, like certain demographics, people will not find funny in any way, shape, or form.
Right, on principle alone, people probably won't check it out.
Yeah, when I filmed my review for Fuego Tainment last week, I basically the closest comparison I could come was some of the racially charged comedy that Dave Chappelle has done, and most notably, like the black white supremacist sketch was one that I really felt had some similar tones of, oh, it's so offensive, and yet it makes you think a little bit. Obviously, that didn't have any seriousness to it, really, but as far as, you know, a Jew playing Hitler and directing a film that he wrote about it, it's, I don't know, it's not for everybody. Some people will be immensely offended and not find rabbis stuffing things in their ears humor very fascinating. So,
well, you know what I say to those people? They can go and deal with the German shepherds.
That was so Taika, man. And I even went back and watched some of his older stuff this past week. I watched Eagle versus Shark, and I watched some. I binged a little bit of What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, and it's.
I need to check that out.
He's
I've
great.
been putting it off. I need to see that already.
It's so fun.
Yeah, he's amazing. He really is.
The trailer ruins one of the more funnier lines in the movie, but when the kid with the glasses, the best friend, is officially Yorgi. Yeah, when he's officially part of the army, and they stop for a second, and he's like, "Yeah, it's just a really weird time to be a Nazi." it's just like, oh man, this is atrocious.
Yeah.
But
no, it's amazing, and it's Sam Rockwell.
Sam Rockwell's incredible in that movie.
And I love his increasing flamboyance to the bordering of Liberace as the film goes on, and it becomes much more apparent that he's in a relationship with that other officer, and it's so funny.
Freaking Alfie Allen from Game of Thrones, who went through one of the more epic and over-the-top arcs. Yeah. And like he has like 2 lines in the movie, but he's got so much screen time.
And also Merchant's cameo is fun. I mean,
who's Stephen Merchant?
He's the head guy who was
really tall British comedian who goes to inspect the house. Where do you think they're going to find that one person without spoiling? And how about that girl? Her performance is fantastic. She was in a movie called Leave No Trace that I think I mentioned last week, was one of my favorite films of 2018, about this father and his daughter that are like squatting in the forest in Northern California.
She's a dead ringer for that girl from Zombieland. I'm sorry, whatever.
Abigail
Alison Breglin?
Yeah, dead ringer. I thought that was her for a while. I was like, wait a minute.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. And like you hear stories about how like people in Hollywood were like fighting to get parts in this movie, and that's how like Rebel Wilson was like this weird throwaway like, and I don't know. It's this is the movie of this year that's going to get really remembered. I think. Other than Endgame and all those.
I said Judy Greer had the worst dialogue of 2018. Stephen Merchant easily is going to be the creepiest person of 2019. Because he's the head Nazi dude in this, and he's the guy who buys the CPR dog from Good Boys.
In Good Boys.
He's such a creep in that movie.
Oh, he's so good. I forgot about that.
2019 is the year of the creep for Stephen Merchant. I'm sorry, guys.
Hal Hitler, Hal Hitler, Hal Hitler, Hal Hitler, Hal Hitler, Hal Hitler.
And we lost our monetization.
Yes, and it's gone.
And someone brought this up in the chat, Nazis being funny. The reason why this works is because it portrays the Nazis as what they are. Just absolutely ridiculous, childish. And that's why it works with the Springtime for Hitler with the producers. And that's why it works, because you're taking the power away from them. And you're saying like, no, you're just a joke of a human being. Yeah, you did a bunch of horrible things, but you are a joke, sir. And that's why Hitler is the invisible imaginary friend of a little
eating the zebra head and all that.
No, it was a unicorn. It was a unicorn.
Head. That's right. Yeah, sorry, I was getting mixed up for a second.
Yeah, there's
no, when they go ahead.
It's a movie that has social messages that it just doesn't doesn't shove them down your throat. Hey, we're talking about Nazis in 2019. I wonder why. Oh, this still has relevance. Okay, cool.
And Scarlett Johansson. I have never seen her be that kind of like that playfulness, that kind of looseness. I mean, not that looseness. That's not the right word. 'Cause that makes it seem like she's an uptight actress. But like, she looked like she was just having fun. Like Taika just kept saying, just no, play more, play more, be sillier, be bigger, and it worked.
Yeah.
But also balanced it so well with being sweet and endearing and loving. And I mean, she was the one who obviously, besides the younger girl, I mean, they were able to get past this facade that this kid was clinging so tightly to. And I don't know, he was fantastic too. That kid had never acted in like anything before, never been in a movie before.
They developed at least 3 relationships in that movie rather strongly. There's at least 3 relationships that I could think of in that one house alone. That
maybe even 4 if you talk Rockwell.
Sure,
I mean,
sure.
Yeah. He's so underrated. It hurts sometimes. Sorry, people know who Sam Rockwell is.
Dude, so my 2 favorite working actors today are Michael Shannon and Sam Rockwell. Those 2 guys crush it in pretty much everything I've ever seen them in, whether it's a smaller role, larger role. Strangely comedic, dramatic, so versatile. Yeah, those guys are rad, but Rockwell shines in this.
Yeah. So, Jojo Rabbit, Ultra, I don't know if it's Ultra Limited. I don't know. Is it on 1,000 screens? Is it even that?
It's been expanding, but how many is it on now? I
sincerely
wonder.
doubt, that's going to be every
798.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's getting there. I mean,
why not 542 theaters this week, guys? It more than doubled its theater count.
So
well, and I was waiting for that to happen. So
it might be one of those ones that just kind of lingers and hangs around. But seriously, if you're at all intrigued, go check out the trailer. It's on the YouTube version of the show. I think we played it a week or 2 ago, in the countdown. So, there is subject matter that, it's the German side of World War II. It's a comedy. Adolf Hitler is an absolute. He's an ass. He's a joke.
And the scene where he goes from being a joke to kind of actually being Hitler for like a half moment was like, chilling.
Yeah, you just got to be mentally prepped for this movie. And if you're in after all that, really, really buckle in and enjoy yourself, because it's a hell of a movie that makes you laugh, cry. I don't all of the emotions. It just checks them all off, and I genuinely got choked up twice during that movie.
Yeah.
But
it's like I say it's one of the best movies of the year. The same way that I think of what was it? The farting corpse movie, Swiss Army Man. Was like, that's an incredible movie, right? But very niche audience. Not everyone's gonna go for that, but if you go for it, it's worth it. This is the same way. Like, this is either for you or it's not, and if it is, you're gonna love it. Like,
it's
Paul.
Go ahead.
I was just going to interject. Paul Dano is another actor that I'll watch in pretty much anything, because he's got that same versatility I was just describing with Shannon and Rockwell. So
apologies to Felix in the YouTube chat. He gave us the number 798 a little while back. Apologies, Felix. I wasn't looking. On the YouTube screen, we juggle between the stats and the chat, and right now we're on the stats. So. That's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it.
Yeah, and it says it did go wide officially on the 8th, so it has gone wide as of this weekend. But, I mean, as we get closer to Oscars and award season and stuff like that, I wouldn't see it make a resurgence of some sort, maybe even expand even wider, as tends to happen when these films get tons of nominations.
And if you feel a little weird about laughing at stuff like this, wait till it comes on digital. I don't think... There's not much that happens in this movie that commands a large screen, so, certainly give it a rent at the very least, and in the privacy of your own home, so you don't have to feel weird about. I mean, I know I felt a little odd chuckling a couple times, like I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't want people to see my face. Somebody behind me is laughing, and I don't know who it is, but they better stop.
Like, you're glad movie theaters are dark,
Yeah.
so people can't, like, like pinpoint you. And oh, that was the guy who was laughing at some of the most offensive material, like
Yeah.
he was gonna bust a gut. And
Yeah, that's where watching stuff like that at home kind of pays off.
Mm-hmm.
So let's
Yeah.
swing back around to the upset of the week.
Yeah.
Doctor Sleep, which I have the stats here. Worldwide, it pulled in 34 million, which is a total that's including the U.S. And domestic, it's at 14 million. The budget is 45 million, so right now, excluding marketing, it's about 3 million profit, and we're not including budget, so it's still got money to make.
Yeah, the Deadline article I looked at said that unless, like, even if it breaks 100 million worldwide, it's still looking to lose around 20
That
million,
much,
if
huh?
not a little bit more, maybe even closer to 30. So,
I mean, that's
which
not
is a heartbreaker.
that much, but it is unfortunate.
See,
Well, the same report also said
Yeah.
that It Chapter 2 and Joker made 600 million in profits. So they're doing Warner Brothers is just
Yeah.
fine. They can chalk this one up. But with the current King Assance, like I mentioned a little earlier in the broadcast, I'm surprised, but I feel like it was poorly marketed, and also just people hold The Shining in such sanctity that they were unwilling to give this a shot.
well, Fuego, let me take the ignoramus route, because I don't read, and I wasn't very, like, it literally, it took me a while to figure out that Doctor Sleep was somehow associated with The Shining. Do you think one way or another that it either hurt or helped this movie? Because Joe Sixpack may not know that Doctor Sleep is somehow associated with The Shining, and one way or another, would it play into something? Like, I don't know how strong a movie The Shining is with again Joe Sixpack.
Yeah.
Well, this is kind of the time to make this movie, because we just had the huge Shining shout out in Ready Player One. So,
True.
I mean, maybe
And
it's
also-
like too late, but
Oh, and
Go
also
ahead.
Flanagan coming off of all of that enormous success for Haunting of Hill House. I mean,
Yeah.
and it's the year of 19, which is a big number in Stephen King lore, like as big as things get. I mean, Tremblay's character, the baseball kid, number 19, number 19. So this was definitely as good a time as any. I would also argue that this was kind of the Bumblebee factor, in the fact that they didn't call it Transformers Bumblebee, they just called it Bumblebee. Should they have called it The Shining Chapter 2 or something like that, and then maybe, like, hyphen Doctor Sleep? I don't know. I don't have those answers. All I can say is, just double down on the fact that I think people love the hell out of The Shining just a little too much. Maybe.
It's unfortunate, because I think if you Alien Covenant it and get people in the door, the movie is certainly strong enough to, like, it's this weird game. Alien Covenant kind of made people who were fans of Prometheus and fans of Alien both kind of sort of disappointed and let down. But I'm wondering if you call this Shining 2 Doctor Sleep and they get this movie, because I think the villain, Rose Hat, is that her name? Rose Hat, right?
Rose the Hat.
Was great. I think it for 2/3 of a movie, you're watching a really badass thriller, horror, dare I say. And then you get this, this icing on top by the third act with the Shining lore. It didn't feel like it was necessary, but it was just a nice place for it to go. Like, oh wow, that's right. Here we're doing this. There's shot callback, shot tributes, inverted versions of scenes. Like, it was just a really, like, I've heard people say it's a bit fan filmy, but I don't know if I would go that far. The movie itself is, like, if you somehow just stop the movie after the second act, I think the movie's strong enough to be honest. And then
and some spoilery, well, not super spoilery stuff, but there's a shootout that happens in kind of a woodsy area, and that's more so how the book kind of ends, and the stuff that's tacked on at the Overlook is almost like a postscript sort of thing. Like, that's where you made a good point, CP, about the fact that this film did try to, just like that Everclear song, everything to everyone, it tried to please the book purists and the fans of Kubrick's film, and perhaps it did end up just kind of aggravating both camps, because of the fact that, you know, everybody who I know who loves Shining the Book and isn't the biggest fan of of Kubrick's tone and representation, they were like, they're going back to the Overlook. Are you flipping kidding me? In the book, there is no Overlook. It's a campgrounds, and that's where the True Knot are posting up at the end of the book, and that's where this big confrontation goes down, is on the site where the Overlook used to be. Yeah. So obviously, if a fan of the source material, Dr. Sleep, sees that there's still an Overlook, they're going to be a little angry, and then the whole purist aspect of people who love The Shining and didn't feel like it needed a sequel. So this could have like really just hit both sides of the argument and made them both averse to this.
And I did like Alien Covenant, for the record, for what that's worth. So
I didn't.
I
love Prometheus.
I love Prometheus too. I'm glad we got something. If anything, I felt kind of ripped off by the second act, but I thought it was strong enough that you know, it's in my top half of the franchise, which isn't saying much. But
I need to revisit it for sure.
Sure. Hopefully Disney does something with it. Speaking of doing something with stuff from the past, Lindsey, you dropped a little bit of bizarre knowledge on us regarding somebody who's been dead a very long time. So the floor is yours, Lindsey. Why don't you educate us on what is happening now?
So there's a movie coming out. It's called Finding John, or Tracking John, something like that. It's about finding dogs that were abandoned, and military dogs that were abandoned after Vietnam. Okay. You know, big war. A lot of dogs are probably used. You know, it's a big deal. It's an interesting story. I want to see what happened to the doggos that were used in war. That's a story I want to hear. And there's this character in this movie called Rogan, who apparently the director spent months and months and months trying to cast and just couldn't do it. And then he got a brainwave. James Dean, who died 20 years before the Vietnam War, and as far as I know, never really started a movie that was too much about doggos coming home from war. And so I'm just like, okay. You know, we're playing with technology these days. We got super young Sam Jackson from Miss Marvel earlier this year, and that looked amazing. The one of the most talked about things in Terminator Dark Fate is the scene
we need
where
to swing back around
everyone.
to that, but yeah, that was an incredible looking scene.
Yeah. No, you know, and then there's Tarkin, which looked horrible, but you know, Shay, whatever, they paved the way. Leia looked good until she smiled. That was, you know. So,
I still love Rogue One, but nonetheless.
I know. Yeah, no, I mean that'll just sidetrack us entirely if we get into this. So
stay on target. Stay on target.
Beautiful.
We may have gone a little far in some places.
You know what, guys? We really need to talk about Ray's parents. So this was going to happen sooner or later, where someone was going to try to recreate a dead actor for an entire movie that's been dead for a long time just for the sake of doing it. This was going to happen. But why James Dean? Why this movie?
What is the budget on this going to be? My God.
It's got to be so huge.
I feel terrible.
Those effects are going to take so long.
I feel terrible. Terrible. That's terrible. I feel badly. I feel badly for the poor actor that's just going to be the body that they're going to paint James Dean's face on, unless they're going full CGI. But
yeah, I looked it up. It was Guy Henry.
Oh, sorry.
It was Guy Henry who was Tarkin in Rogue One. I looked him up, and we're giving him a shout out because these actors need respect. But and it's two characters because you got the guy who's the physical embodiment, and you got the voice actor. They got a voice actor.
You said cactors, didn't you?
I said two cactars.
Two cactors.
Well, so like
too many cactors. Too many.
Too many.
Final Fantasy reference.
Is this is this the estate of James Dean that's making this decision? Like, where are we?
His still living cousins have signed off on it.
Yeah, because they're gonna get some money.
Exactly. And as far as I can tell, that those couple of cousins seem to be literally the only people that are alive that could. So it's like, hey, you guys want free money? Sign off on this thing so we can use the likeness of a relative of yours you never met. Sweet.
Bunch of savages.
I mean,
in this town,
I think he was in like a Coke commercial with Marilyn Monroe or something from a couple of decades ago, where they had like icons from yesteryear all over.
Probably a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
commercial or
something like that.
I do remember. It wasn't CGI though. It was like
did
they just hired
lift
actors.
footage from other movies?
Oh, is that how they did it? Hold on, I'll look that up because I do remember something about that.
So maybe like they Forrest Gumped it or something.
So
I love how that's.
I just pulled a homer. Yeah, I mean, we can make anything. Let's just throw it in there, and the public consciousness.
So it opens a couple of holes here. Firstly,
plot holes in reality.
Firstly, is it right to do something with James Dean without him signing off on it? Like, do we know that James Dean would be cool with this? A. B, with all the hubbub in Hollywood about getting insert type of actor here more work, do we really need to go back and get CG stars from the past to star in our movies when I don't know, an able-bodied so-and-so would love that role? I mean, like, it seems like we have some version of this discussion every few months. Scarlett Johansson seems to be at the center of it more often than not. So,
oh God, she wants to play James Dean in this movie. I would allow that, and I would love every frame of it.
Make it so.
Oh God. Sorry, I completely.
Yeah. So it's a double-ended question. Is it right? Should it be right? And
actors are still getting paid. It's there's still the voice actor and there's still the embodiment. So it's not like when like a restaurant goes from waiters to iPads on the table where there's just gobs. There's just jobs that are just gone now.
So wait a minute. Is James Dean a SAG actor now? Is
a fascinating question. Sir.
Is CGI James Dean? Does he get whatever the same type of benefits as a SAG actor?
I'm gonna do some Googling. How about you guys talk about some James Dean movies for a minute?
Yeah, both of them. There's but three.
There's two or three. Yeah. I think three.
I got the bullet.
Rebel Without a Cause.
I mean, I'm with the sentiment that there's so many young actors just busting their asses trying to break through and trying to get roles, and it is such a saturated pool that this feels gimmicky to me, and I feel like it definitely sucks a little bit for those living who could be working and are struggling in a lot of ways, to just be a part of this sort of scene and workplace and this type of creativity. So for them, it definitely sucks. Well,
I mean, they're going to have to start putting this into contracts now. Like, I understand, like, Leia, because Carrie Fisher is so synonymous with that character. You would think that somewhere in her will, or somewhere in the current Star Wars scripts. I think when you sign a script, they if you die during filming, you sign off on them using your footage. Many an act of permission where, like, I don't know. Say Bruce Willis has something in his will where he says, "Hey, by the way, when I die, make sure you keep John McClane going and, give my kids the money." Like, I really feel like the actors should have some sort of say. It really kind of. Lindsey just jolted out of his chair. So what do you got, Lindsey?
According to our good buddy, a friend of the show, and just overall good person, Razor Wire Reviews. Good old Luke here just pointed out something kind of fascinating to me. This movie is going into pre-production this week, and it's released in November 2020.
So a full year.
James Dean's gonna look horrible.
Yeah, that stuff takes
might as well
years, man.
Yeah, like, are they gonna have just like several servers farms dedicated to exporting this movie once? Wow, that is. If that's true, Luke, dude, that is crazy, my friend. Also, SAG, they do continue to pay residuals in perpetuity after people die. And I do have a quote here from Robert De Niro, because they just de-aged him for The Irishman.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. They're using that technology in that movie, too. Yes, I'm in the exact same boat. And he's saying, hey, and they ask him about the technology in some interview, and he's like, oh, yeah, no, this is great because I can continue to work 30 years after I'm dead. And I'm like, oh, so he can keep making money for his family 30 years after he's dead. That's interesting.
It's one thing for current day actors that are familiar with the technology. And shout out to Pete in the YouTube chat saying people are working, whether the actor that's being CGI'd over or the people making the CGI. And that's a fair point. Perhaps you have more people working on creating James Dean than you would just a regular old Scarlett Johansson playing James Dean. So,
I would wonder how much less you're making, though, if you're somebody getting CGI'd over as opposed to if you're like the actual lead. I mean...
Well, if you're Andy Serkis, you're still making millions, but anyone else, it's probably dramatically. It's probably whatever the industry standard rate is, or something like that, which isn't bad. No, it'll be more than scale. Oh God, it better be more than scale. But
that's another pit hole, rabbit hole to fall down. What if we're talking? I mean, James Dean was a big deal.
Do you pay for the 2019 equivalent?
Yeah, that's. I mean, it's a genuine thought. Like, let's just say, God forbid, Jennifer Lawrence goes tomorrow. She's one of the highest paid actresses. Do you make a CGI Jennifer Lawrence, a $25 million actor? And does the actor that's behind the CGI person's face, do they get a big chunk of that? It's this. I see like 6 or 7 different ways to approach this idea. It's fascinating. It's just incredibly fascinating to me.
Yeah, the point that I was just formulating is I think it's a lot different when it's an iconic actor versus an iconic character. James Dean, obviously iconic actor, despite the fact that he was only in a couple of films, because he was like, the representation of a certain portion of a generation. But Leia is a totally different situation because of the fact that that's an iconic character. And I mean, there was the whole argument with Episode 9. Do we recast Leia or do we go digital? What the hell do we do? I've heard a lot of people, some of their biggest gripes about Dr. Sleep, not to circle back to that, but they did not like the recasting of Nicholson and oh goodness, what is her name? It's totally eluding me. Wendy Torrance, but I'm trying to think of the name of the actress, and it's eluding me at the moment.
I don't know her real name. Shelley Duvall. Shelley
Duvall. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah, I just think of her when she was doing that fairy tale theater stuff for whatever reason. I thought that was a really cool HBO show.
They did the hair, and I think that's another.
And the voice was convincing on both of them.
Yes, I think that's a tribute to the filmmaking efforts. I mean, they recreated scenes where it was just like, all right, these are the actors that are supposed to be the ones that you're supposed to be thinking of right now. I mean,
and Elliot from E.T. was convincing.
Yeah,
I thought, he's all grows up, and he's all grows up, and he looked the part pretty well, and I forgot that was him in Hill House too. So it's funny how Flanagan likes to work with the same actors. But anyway.
I like it when directors do that, actually, because then they start popping up with like little roles. They're not just main roles, you know. So like, hey, there's that. I don't know. So I'm trying to find out how much James Dean was paid for the movies that he made. I found that his net worth at the time of his death was $2 million, which is just shy of $19 million in 2019. Wow. And I found a thing that talks about how much actors were paid in 1937. Where'd that figure go? Adjust
for inflation. Adjust for inflation.
Well, but here's the thing.
6, 7, 8 times as much.
You know, Gary Cooper, you know, pretty, you know, big guy. He was, I think, 370,000. Was what he was paid for something. It looks like
in the 30s.
Or no. This is net worth. Sorry.
Yeah.
Well, I also think.
Yeah, no, I got nothing. Then. Okay, never mind.
It's just fascinating.
I also think of the. Yeah. Oh, it's totally fascinating. I don't know if you guys remember when they did a Tales from the Crypt episode that was directed by Robert Zemeckis, and it took that same thing but with Humphrey Bogart, and he's in the episode extensively, as a matter of fact, and it was just fascinating the way. I mean, the technology has come so far in the way we can transpose, we can cut in, we can do all of these different things, but it's a healthy debate, and one that's obviously, as this presumably becomes more prevalent, as the technology is more easily available, as it improves, it's going to happen more and more often. This is opening the floodgates, I think, and it's just going to be the first of a lot of projects like this that we see coming around.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for better or for worse.
We are going to, I mean, yeah, just like how, Avatar comes out and then we get every 3D movie everywhere. I bet after this comes out, if it gets enough attention and it makes X amount of dollars, there'll be a couple more. Yeah, without a doubt, I'd say.
Yeah, I would think if it's a colossal financial failure, though, studios will definitely be far more hesitant to approach this gimmick. They'll continue with just like little minor roles, cameos, things like that, instead of making a deceased actor a lead in a movie. So. Yeah.
I mean, there was this movie that they filmed a couple of years ago that they made specifically to release in 100 years. And I forget who was in it, and by today's standards, though, if we're recreating people through CGI, I'm forgetting who was in it, and hopefully I'll remember to talk about it next week. But they shot a movie a couple of years ago, and they're just tucking it away and not releasing it until like 2110 or something.
Yes.
So they're time capsuling that shizzle, huh?
I do remember reading about that. My first thought was, if that movie's bad, the people 100 years from now are going to be laughing their ass off.
Yeah.
We may not even have a planet in 100 years, guys. I mean, come on.
True.
The film's going to outlive us.
It's a little overzealous. It's floating in space somewhere, on a piece of Earth, I don't want to see that happen.
Luke.
But, I mean, it's just kind of it feels very overzealous. Anyway.
Luke in the YouTube chat says, exactly, Fuego. With something like Tarkin in Rogue One, he said 2, but Rogue One as well, there was precedent for it, and it was a fun supporting role, not a major character part. So, yes. I mean...
And Tarkin looked great in that shot where he's looking out the window and we see his reflection. He looked good then. It's when he turned around.
Yeah, it's all too often when the movement starts to happen and it looks all jaunty and stuff. And
apparently it's the top lip that makes or breaks it. Apparently, because there's these YouTube videos where CGI guys react to bad CGI, and apparently humans we don't move our top lip, and or it's controlled by our nose or something. I don't know. That's a telltale sign.
What's actually fascinating? I can't find what studio is releasing Finding Jack, this movie. I'm actively trying to find this. Yeah, it might be.
I mean, probably hasn't secured distribution yet, obviously, but I mean, as far as who's producing it, and I mean, perhaps made independently, and then they're going to just try to find distribution. I don't know.
An independent movie trying to do that level of CGI. Oh, that's cute.
That's very cute, isn't it? You're like, oh, that's quaint.
And a year.
Yeah.
You have a year to do it too.
Less than a year, because the movie releases. Unless they're going to wrap shooting on November 11th of next year, and it for 8 days.
We have a super chat in the YouTube. Mike, thank you. $10 in the super chat. Thank you for your time, guys. Any thoughts on Irishman? Any excitement? That's an understatement. Well, go on, Lindsey. I mean, I think we could all hype this movie to no end, but yes, we're all.
It's you know who with you know what cast making you know what. I am stupidly excited. I probably shouldn't be, because this could be, I don't know, like what was that other movie that I got that De Niro and Pacino did a few years ago that was supposed to be like a callback to those movies.
Righteous Kill.
Righteous Kill. It could be another Righteous Kill, but I mean,
they got Pesci back.
They got Pesci. He came out of retirement.
That's what intrigues me, maybe more so than anything, because I love Joe Pesci, man.
Yeah.
No, Oh, and also, yes, thank you very much, Mike, for the record. I just want to see it. I've stayed away from reviews. I know nothing about the story. I just know that they're doing some de-aging stuff, and it's doing a couple weeks in theaters for Oscar push, and then it's on Netflix, and yeah.
And Mike says in the chat, that's right, Lindsey. If it's anything like Casino or Goodfellas, we'll be spoiled. Shit, if it's anything like Departed, I mean, Scorsese makes rather decent, darkly funny. That must be said. Darkly funny mafia films, and
God, Wolf of Wall Street was hilarious.
Yeah,
like in all the worst ways, but it was so funny.
Yeah. And
definitely not PC in any way, shape, or form. But you get to see some nice Margot, so that's great as well.
You got to see Margot Down Under.
Yes.
Hey.
Hey.
Were there shrimps on the Barbie? I'm a bad.
It's
person.
a joke about vagina. Fuego.
One of my most anticipated of the year, regardless of the runtime. It's funny. There's a YouTuber that I really, really enjoy, and I don't watch her like super, super often. But Spooky Astronauts, I know CP is aware of her, and I'm sure Lindsey probably is too. But one of her gripes about Dr. Sleep was the runtime. Long movies don't really bother me very much. I mean, I just got done watching Ford v Ferrari, which is also like 2.5 hours, and that comes out this upcoming week. And
can you say if it's good or bad?
It didn't feel the runtime. Well, I was hoping to at least touch upon it. I was at a screening this past Wednesday, so Wednesday of last week for it. Got to see it at the Cine Capri, which is the big premium theater for Harkins Theaters, which is a local chain here in Arizona, and a couple other spots in the Southwest. Acting is terrific. I'm not compelled by racing, though. So while the racing scenes are amazingly done, and I mean, James Mangold is a hell of a director, from Girl Interrupted to Copland to, I mean, I even find merit in the first Wolverine film that he directed. It was just when they did the stupid Silver Samurai stuff at the end that the movie really went off the rails and stuff. And Logan's obviously terrific. I mean, he's a guy that can do a lot, and it's got such great chemistry between Bale and Damon, and the racing stuff didn't really captivate me anywhere near as much. All the fascinating behind the scenes aspects, and the fact that it is really a redemptive story of two friends. And I mean, Josh Lucas is a crappy guy in that movie, and you just hate him so much. He's terrific, and I mean, everybody pretty much is great. And so just to round out the point, though, that's another movie that's really long. I don't shy away from lengthy run times.
We just talked about Wolf of Wall Street. That didn't feel
exactly. I was like, Scorsese's last few movies have been like 3-something hours. What was the one that had Adam Driver, where they were the missionaries and stuff? That was a terrific movie. So I don't know. Most headlines, because like Lindsey, I haven't read any reviews. Most headlines from people I respect have said it does not feel the runtime because you're that engrossed, and seeing the gang all back together, so to speak, is awesome. Pesci, especially since he had been in retirement, like Lindsey mentioned. So I have heard a little bit of criticism about the CGI de-aging in certain spots, but aside from that, I mean, Scorsese, crime film, Come on, that's got to be on pretty much every major critic's most anticipated list of this year.
The other thing to note is it's coming to Netflix. Length really shouldn't be an issue if you can, chop it up and watch it in halves or whatever. Runtime at the theater. I'll listen, as somebody who has got a bad back, I'll give you when it gets past 2 hours, I get a little uncomfy, but. In the privacy of your own home, you can kind of let the movie work around you, and like we were talking about, Wolf of Wall Street, Casino was well into 2 hours, maybe even 2.5. Give me as much Scorsese as possible. That is cinema.
True.
Not it does really depend on the movie.
The Casino's 2 hours 58 minutes. That's like practically 3 hours right there too. Yeah, 2:58.
Wow.
Yeah, he's been making these 3-hour movies for quite a long time, and I mean, this is actually one I'm disappointed I can't see in a theater, and that I'll have to see it at home because with some of the like little bits of war sequences and stuff that they're doing. I've heard the movie's actually quite funny, and there is that darkly comedic edge to stuff like Casino, and very obviously to Wolf of Wall Street. Yeah, not really with The Departed, but I mean
the trailer, like when Ray Romano is interviewing Robert De Niro about being a driver, and he asks him questions like, "Have you ever done this?" I think Robert De Niro is applying to be a driver. And Ray Romano asks him, "Have you ever hit anybody?" And De Niro says, "On the job?" and Ray Romano's like, "Yeah, on the job." "Oh, no, I haven't hit anybody on the job." funny, darkly funny, joking about hitting people.
When you have those masters at work, it doesn't matter how long the movie is. Like, I freaking love Hateful Eight. I loved Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And those are both 2 hours, 2.5, 3 hours long. I saw Lawrence of Arabia in theaters. It had an intermission. It didn't even matter. And then a buddy threw a watching party with Lawrence of Arabia a few years ago, and we all sat around until 4 a.m. watching Lawrence of Arabia because it's a 5-hour long movie. If as long as the craft is good, length doesn't matter. You don't feel it. Like, I felt it with It Chapter 2 because so much of that movie is just not really anything happening.
Sure. There's 85-minute movies that feel a little long where it's just like,
oh yeah,
where are we? Can we just go already?
That's about pacing and quality and all that stuff. I'm still a fan of the built-in intermission. If you're clocking like 2.5 to 3 hours, if not more. I mean, they did the intermission with Hateful Eight, right? They did it with it's not done as often as it was in the time.
Yeah, that roadshow stuff was cool for Hateful Eight.
But to just get up, stretch. I mean, hell, I'm sure the concessions people love the intermission aspect because people go refill and they get another soda, they get another thing of popcorn. They're probably making more money in that regard.
So the previous 2 weeks we've been talking about Scorsese pissing off all of cinema-dom with his framing of Marvel.
Good segue.
But now here he is. Another thing Mike brought up in the chat is, why straight to Netflix? Which it isn't technically straight to Netflix. There are a very, very limited amount of screens that it's on right now. I think it's on 8.
The bare minimum to qualify for Oscars.
8?
Yeah, something like
exactly.
that. Yeah.
So
just like what Roma did last year.
Yep.
So, thoughts on that? The world we live in.
I mean, it sucks. Remember Lincoln a few years back? That almost didn't have a theatrical release. Freaking Spielberg made a movie about Abraham Lincoln, and he had to fight tooth and nail to get it into theaters. And that is so depressing. For the record, I wasn't a huge fan of Lincoln. It was okay, and there's a couple of scenes where the acting was really pretty bad. Like, there's this one scene where someone's like, "You are breaking my heart," and I'm like, "Oh dear God."
But I mean, I contend Spielberg's been pretty much okay for a long time now, unfortunately.
When he's on. I loved Bridge of Spies. Like, that was...
it just didn't do it for me.
That's fair. I mean, what was it? Jolly Green Giant or Big Friendly Giant or whatever? That movie was painfully bad.
BFG, the Roald Dahl story and everything. I thought that had serious potential, and it was just as ho-hum for me as Ready Player One was. So.
I forgot about Ready Player One. That's funny. I mean, yeah, I'm getting off track here.
Well,
what were we talking about?
so
Sorry.
Netflix being a premiere. I mean, nobody made a stink about Dolomite, and that is straight to Netflix. Although I don't know, maybe that had a couple of screens. Netflix is.
It did.
It did.
Yep, it was shown. Same model for that as well, because that's supposedly going to get an Oscar push as well.
I really enjoyed that movie.
It's one of my it's in my 10 of the year easily. I love Dolomite.
Yeah.
I need to see that. Everyone's really pushing me. I have to get on that.
It's great, dude. It's so funny.
So it puts theater going into question. Like if they didn't release Irishman on Netflix, and this past weekend is a perfect example. Dr. Sleep only pulled in 14 million, which is that really puzzles me.
It's like about half what projections were too. They were projecting 25 to like 27, 28,
right.
And it does about half that. So that's, I mean, are the only movies that we're eventually going to see going to be big budget stuff that they think they can make a ton of money on, or the small budget horror like the Blumhouse model and stuff like that? I mean, I know that there is a fear of spending a lot of money on a big ensemble, dramatic piece of this nature, and the fact that the returns aren't what they used to be, because film going has changed so drastically as far as people loving their streaming services, privacy of their own home, big screen 4K, nice sound system,
theaters need to adapt.
Your own alcohol and snacks and everything. I mean,
you okay?
So no, it's
a troubling trend.
Right.
Yeah, I was just trying to collect my thoughts. Joker is the counter to that entire thought. It was made for like what, $40 million, and it's about to make $1 billion. So
it's officially the most profitable comic film of all time. Crazy.
But it's also lightning in the bottle. There was just so much preamble hype around it, around like the fall of the DCEU. Is this part of that? Is it not part of it? Joker's always going to be a big pull. And then, there's the whole thing with the director being an interesting guy, and then Joaquin Phoenix, and then there's all the backlash, and then there's the director coming out and saying, up yours to the backlashers. And so it was like a perfect storm. I mean, it was going to make money either way. It was Joker and Joaquin Phoenix. It's going to make money. But this is the Titanic of small budget superhero movies. We're not going to see another one of these for a while.
It's like what Fuego is saying. It only seems like the super big stuff is what people are going out for. Right. Avengers.
No, that was the point I was trying to make. It's possible to do it with smaller movies, but it's just harder. And you gotta work it in order to get those smaller movies to really get the attention.
It's a lot hard. It's a lot harder to get people to go to the movies now, especially with. I mean, you have decent quality, and this week Disney Plus is officially launching.
Mandalorian. Who's watching it at midnight, guys?
I know I am.
Same
midnight tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess it's one thing I'm doing tonight.
First 2 episodes, I think, go live tonight, or go live at 12 a.m. Here on the 12th.
So you have companies like Netflix saying, here we got it for you. We're gonna. I mean, they're actively picking up, buying. I mean, you see all these darlings at these film festivals. HBO bought a fairly high-profile movie, and it's another one that's going to premiere on HBO. Like, there's these large movies that 10 years ago would get a theatrical release, and now you just got stuff like Netflix where it's just like, just have our app. We got you.
A lot of this is, at least on the American side of things, and why our box office is so much lower than a lot of other countries more often than not, except for Joker, of course, which is, again, it's the exception. It's not the rule for any of this, because Joker still hasn't opened in China yet either, if I'm not mistaken, right? So it's got that whole huge market.
And I don't think it's going to, which is maybe that it makes that $1 billion even more impressive to me.
It definitely does.
That they didn't get the Chinese market and they still crossed that threshold. Like, holy crap, man.
You have to remember that's the exception, not the rule. But we're going to see a few people trying to chase that same amount of money that Joker just pulled off of that $50 million. oh god damn it, I keep getting sidetracked in my brain.
Well, it's like there are constantly are exceptions to the rule. Like
Right.
people were so
Yeah.
confused that It Chapter 2 didn't make It Chapter 1 money, but It Chapter 1 was the exception, not the rule.
The highest grossing trailer ever. The highest watched trailer.
I was like,
It's the most watched trailer on the horror show. That's for sure. I mean, that movie made our numbers move insanely 2 years ago. We have a like big just like debt to that film. We were indebted to it. So
Sorry, the chat made me remember that. So our economy sucks right now. The American economy is terrible.
no, it's bigly good. We're winning.
No, I mean, yeah, you got some orange dude who's claiming it's the best it's ever been, but no, it's terrible, and because it's terrible, people have no
You're
money.
just tired
and
of winning.
People have no.
You're tired of winning.
I'm so tired of winning. Oh, you're absolutely right, Steve. But
yeah, unless it's a Marvel movie, people don't want to go to a theater. They just want to share their buddy's Netflix password and stream, whatever on that, and just leave it there. So
the first thing that always goes when times get tough, entertainment, and movies are entertainment. So you cut that out of your budget. You try and save some money, and there's really no easy solution to that. You got to give people incentive to get to the theaters. Maybe if there's no entry fee to go to theaters anymore, maybe every theater adopts some version of AMC A-list. So you throw $20 at Regal, $20 at, then you can just go see all the movies that you want. And for each time you register for this movie or that movie, the theater gets a certain percentage of. I mean, the the studio gets some certain percentage of.
The formula has gone to shit.
Yeah.
We have more screens than we ever have. And you can go to a Cineplex that has 10 screens, but, if it's the new Marvel movie, at least 5 of those screens are showing that Marvel movie. So there's no staying power. It's all about this one and done kind of weekend approach and stuff like, I don't know, Last Christmas. Are we going to see that in the top 10 2 weeks from now?
No.
And it's just a silly little rom-com.
No, not at all. And yeah, but yet hilarious movies, possibly the funniest movie I saw this year, like Good Boys, they were still in theaters like a couple weeks ago, and that came out months ago. So, I mean, I would just contend that there's less room for the mid-budget film and its success, especially if it's not big explosion, crazy whateverness. If it's like the more thoughtful, dramatic, like elevated art house sort of approach, it's really like low budget comedy and horror or big budget Marvel action shoot 'em up craziness. It's those movies that are like the mid budget, the like 40 to 60, maybe stretch it to 70. Those are the ones that are struggling significantly because they're dead in the water if their first weekend is not successful.
Which might as well be a nice segue to the quote unquote big movie of this weekend. Charlie's Angels, the remake or readaptation or what is coming this week, and I
got an invite to it tomorrow. I don't know if I'll go.
Yeah, it's bad when you turn down free tickets, isn't it? It's
I think I'm the one who's the most accepting of this movie, and even I'm just like, I'll go see it when I see it.
Yeah.
I'm not super thrilled. I'm interested because, interesting cast, interesting director. I'm not knocking down doors to see it.
I don't think this is a 2019 movie, especially with how aware Hollywood is. I mean, the ones with Cameron Diaz, the McG Charlie's Angels, they were over the top fun. It's it's not even 20 years ago now, but the times were different. I don't know if you could approach a movie like Charlie's Angels the same way.
Well, I just think about the fact that I like Kristen Stewart so much now from her smaller roles like Personal Shopper, and she's got this
and X-Ray was
she's got
sorry.
Yeah, and she has oh boy, it's this like underwater monster film that's coming out early next year that looks badass. This is the paycheck film for her. It's kind of like the equivalent of Jennifer Lawrence with doing great dramatic smaller films versus doing the X-Men movies where she doesn't give a crap anymore, you know. So
visibly asleep on screen.
Yeah. So I mean, I'm still going to see this because it feels like the type of movie that, as somebody who covers pop culture and enjoys it, I kind of feel like I have to see it. And it doesn't look like crap, but it's definitely, it feels a little out of touch and out of place to a degree.
Okay, so with that, we're all kind of about it. Now, Joe Sixpack, keep in mind, Terminator made 27 and change opening weekend. Dr. Sleep made 14. What are we... Lindsey, can you bring up the old Charlie's Angels numbers, or is Box Office Mojo just that bad? What?
I mean, I think both answers are very possible at this moment in time.
What are we generously expecting of Charlie's Angels this week, which is competing with Ford versus Ferrari?
It made 40 million opening, and that's back in 2000.
That's really good.
It ended up doing 264 worldwide in its entirety, and
which is pretty good.
What about that sequel, though?
I think it was different star power, though. Cameron Diaz and Drew Barrymore were a bigger deal back then than Kristen Stewart. And I'll be the first to say it. I don't recognize the actress on the left.
Yeah, I can't say I know who she is either.
Opening weekend, the first Charlie's Angels made 40.
Fuego just said that.
Yeah.
Oh, did you? Oh, sorry.
And then the second one 3 years later still made 37, still made about the same. But I mean, you had a comedic presence like Murray, who I know Bill Murray at least cameos in this. But you had Bernie Mac. You also, I mean, even Lucy Liu. She was a pretty. I know that makes me sad to think about. But even Lucy Liu was a pretty big name in her own right back then. So. Yeah, less star power in this one for sure.
Far less.
I'm sure the budget is significantly less, although I don't think they list it. No,
I guarantee you this one's going to swing more into comedy more than action.
Really?
And because I'm guessing, I could be wrong on that. I mean, it's directed by Elizabeth Banks, right? Or she at least produced it?
Oh, okay. Well, so what are you projecting for Charlie's Angels? Dr. Sleep, which had some buzz, pulled in 14 million. I don't know a soul who's talking about Charlie's Angels. Fuego's talking about not going to a free showing.
You make it sound like that's actually like meaningful.
Well, the budget for this one is only 48 compared to the budget of the 2000 Mick G film was almost 100.
Wow.
But then again, Mick G's Salvation, all that. I mean, he didn't start making smaller budget stuff until like The Babysitter and things like that recently. He had to scale it back, but back in the 2000s, the early 2000s, he was like, let's just throw all the money at it. Give me all of the money, please.
Yeah.
I think it's making less than 20 for sure. Easily less than 20. Opening, less than. Do you know what I think is topping the box office this weekend? I think it's going to be Ford v Ferrari. Yeah. That's the kind of film that my parents, and it's kind of hokey in the fact that it's like, look at Americans triumphing and stuff, and they're obviously marketing it as such because everybody knows that that's a true story about that driver winning Le Mans or that racing team, the Americans beating the Italians, and it's so inspiring, all this other stuff. I think that movie's going to make some money. It's not going to, it might make like 30 to 40 maybe, but I do think people are interested, and plus it's got the Oscar buzz behind it. So
I honestly, you've convinced me. Yeah, it'll probably take the gold for the weekend. Charlie's Angels, I'm gonna say 10ish.
Yeah,
give or take. Like if this weekend's like last weekend, it'll be lower than 10. If this weekend's better than last weekend, it'll be a little over 10.
I do not disagree.
It's gonna come in second for sure. It'll be the second
at
film,
highest.
At highest. Hey, I would be so happy if word of mouth for Dr. Sleep gets it like pushed up and everyone was like, oh, Midway was terrible, and why would I go see that? It's not Veterans Day weekend anymore.
Yeah.
So
I was weighing that possibility. Like, could Could it somehow actually take the first place a second time because nobody cares about Charlie's Angels and then no one ends up caring about Ferrari? Is there any chance
There's
of that
a
happening?
faint chance. I wouldn't bet money on it, but there's
Right.
I mean, Midway made 18. Like,
Oh yeah, so it's probably gonna make like 9 or 10. Yeah, okay, yeah, so it's probably not gonna.
that's going to be a bad
the
weekend.
the upper echelon.
I still contend, having seen it, Ford v Ferrari is it's a lock to win this weekend,
Cool. Okay.
and I'll go on record to say that. So
It is recorded.
I just did.
And
I do want to see it. It looks very
And
good. I'm super down.
speaking of movies that are underwhelming, without whelm, Terminator Dark Fate came in 5th. Total domestic at this point is 48 million. All right, so word of mouth did no favors for that movie. What do we?
Nope.
What do we? What's happening to Terminator? Does it make it to Thanksgiving?
In the top 5.
No. I know the answer to that. That's easy.
Yeah.
That's a no.
Wait, are you saying like it won't be in theaters anymore in Thanksgiving?
Will it be in the top 10 Thanksgiving weekend?
Oh, top 10.
Top 10. I mean, probably not, but it'll definitely still be in theaters because it's a Terminator film, and they are going to squeeze blood from a stone trying to get people to see that movie.
Yeah,
They're going to just leave it out there.
I can't believe it.
But-
I mean,
It's up to 200 worldwide.
I was just looking at that.
Yeah.
and the budget was what? I know last week we were talking about them losing 200.
I'm like, they don't list budget on here anymore, and I gotta.
It's so frustrating.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Last week I think the worldwide was 124, so it's made a combined 70 to
2-ish. 200 million.
for the budget.
Yeah.
Yeah, 185 to 196 is what they're
So it
saying.
might.
Oh, and it's a 3-way split too. That's so whatever
Which
money it
you
does make.
mentioned last week.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
I totally forgot about that. This is the same thing that killed Watchmen. Even though it did made a little bit of money, you had to split that money so many ways it didn't matter. This is oof. Okay.
So let's say it's barely made its budget back worldwide now before marketing and promotion, which they did just incessantly, crazily for this movie. So
It's a really, really strange month. That Doctor Sleep pulling in 14 really has me puzzled. I mean, hindsight, of course, 2020. But if I had known that, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if the folks at Warner, if they knew that they weren't winning this weekend, if they would have even tried to just compete with Terminator, because it was more, it fit more for Halloween.
So, I mean, was there just too much all coming out and still out, taking pieces of the pie a little bit from Dr. Sleep as well? Because, I mean, Terminator had just come out, Joker is still making money, Maleficent is still fresh, and still still made like $8.5 million. I mean,
you had different, you talk about different pieces of the pie. You had different flavored pies out there. Midway and Doctor Sleep are two totally different audiences.
Drastically different.
Playing
yeah,
with
that's like a pizza. It's like a pizza versus a cherry pie or something, you know.
And then you have Playing with Fire, which is the John Cena comedy. That shouldn't be digging into Doctor Sleep money. And then you have Last Christmas, which is the rom-com with Emilia Clarke. So, I mean, you have 4 major releases this last week, and they all just kind of 18, 14, 13, 11.
I mean, if anything, Terminator and Joker still being at 11 and like 9 respectively, maybe those two take a little bit of money from Dr. Sleep, but probably not more than a couple $1 million. So,
yeah. What do you got?
Dark Fate costs $30 million more than Genesis.
And Genesis made money.
Why would you? Yeah. Why would? Why would you increase the budget? I don't understand.
Linda Hamilton.
Linda Hamilton. Yeah.
$30 million. Yeah.
Do you know how much it costs to put the James Cameron name on your producer?
Yeah, that too. And I'm sure they paid Linda and James rather
Arnold.
handsomely to
Oh,
get involved. So
and dude, these posters right next to each other, they are alarmingly similar. Like it's a running meme in Hollywood to some extent that I see here and there that posters are
Gold
boring
and
now.
teal.
They're all basic. Yeah. Like look at this one. You've got Sarah's on Dark Fate. Sarah's really big, and then the Terminator's is the next biggest, and then on the it's like the reverse, and they're also like they're looking different directions. It's like it's literally the same poster.
Mm-hmm.
I am astounded, and like you take the dark background of Genesis and you make it like the bright sunshine because hey, the fate's not dark anymore. Now there's hope. Oh, that is just so lazy. Anyway, I'm sorry. Okay, I just
No,
okay.
it's fine.
When you notice things on air.
So, any news before? We'll get to. We could geek out a little bit about Star Wars, but before we get to Disney Plus, is there any other news? Oh, so last week another buzzer beater that we lost. Fantastic Beasts is filming. Johnny Depp is in it. That's kind of old news for us, but that had just popped up as we were finished last week. So just wanted to get that.
I don't believe it.
You don't believe it's filming?
I do not believe it's filming.
Really?
I don't think this movie's happening. They pushed it back over. They pushed back the start of shooting over a year. Mm-hmm. This movie was supposed to already be done in like a good way into post-production by now, but they canceled that and pushed it back over a year. I guarantee you, sometime between now and the spring, we're going to hear some actor is no longer available, and that's when I don't know who it's going to be, but I guarantee you this movie's not happening.
Okay.
This just that we've seen this before. They push something back and they go quiet for a long time, and then they say, "Hey, we're doing a thing," and then an actor suddenly can't do a thing, and then that messes things up more, and they got to push it back. Like this is a process. We've seen this before. I'm getting too many flashbacks here. And just like, well, what are they going to do with the franchise at this point? They're trying to stop Grindelwald, who's trying to stop the Holocaust. Harry Potter is currently trying to fight so the Holocaust happens. Is that really the franchise that Warner Brothers wants to push right now?
Well, they said it was going to be a more adult take on the Potterverse, right? So
you're not wrong. This is definitely adult material. They killed 2 babies in the last movie. 2. One by drowning.
What else for news do we have?
If you guys want to talk about Fantastic Beasts, by all means. But I just want to.
I think it's funny. It just started filming. There's not much to talk about.
Yeah.
Oh, it hasn't even started.
Change screenwriters and going for a different tone from what I'm reading. J.K. is standing by her dude Depp. She has gone on record to defend him, said that there was a lot more to the end of his marriage than a lot of people realized, and actually a lot of new evidence that came out pointed to that being exactly the case with Amber Heard being a psycho. So
I'm pretty sure they're both psychos. Let's just be real.
At the end of the day, easily.
They abused each other. When you're drinking $30,000 of wine a month, your wife knows about it and she's okay with it.
Only the best.
Go ahead, Fuego. Go ahead.
Well, and in the Rolling Stone article, wasn't it saying that he was like borderline bankrupt and all this stuff?
What?
And because he was spending his money quicker because of his high living and hey, it happens with like
he has an island
all the time. It's nuts.
Hey, it's happening to our president right now.
Ooh, burn. The one thing that's
downvote.
Being on a horror show, I was really intrigued, but yet also very alarmed when they announced Scream 5.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, we were wanting to discuss it for a horror show news segment yesterday when we got together to film, but there wasn't enough other stories of merit. So I'm sure Cecil and I will end up going into some depth about it at some point. But Spyglass Entertainment doing it, no confirmation. I know that's the one thing that I find excessively alarming. No confirmation if it's a reboot like we got with the television series that just had a very unsuccessful, I should say, run on its 3rd season, changing networks, trying to change demographic a little bit. It still didn't work, and a lot of people criticized it heavily. So we don't know if this is a big screen reboot or if it will be a continuation after 4. I actually really enjoyed the hell out of 4 in its commentary about the remake culture that Hollywood was so into and still is. But without Wes, and especially without Kevin Williamson writing, I feel like that was one of the reasons why the third movie just really was easily the worst of the bunch. So I mean, we don't know if we're gonna get Nev Campbell or any of the couple other survivors.
Regardless, they got to start killing some of these people.
The fact that they fake killed so many of those. I mean, Dewey especially, for God's sake. He like died in every movie only for you to find out at the end of it, oh, he's gonna be okay.
Yeah, you gotta.
Guy's got 9 lives. He's like a goddamn cat or something.
Do not Halloween 2018 this. You gotta kill somebody. At least one. One of them's gotta go. I'm sorry.
And that's what I would be worried about, the whole retcon thing. But maybe the lack of success for Dark Fate makes Hollywood second guess the whole Halloween retconning thing. I don't know. Maybe.
Dude, every time I think Halloween. Every time I think Hollywood learns a lesson, I don't know that they're remaking Scooby-Doo.
It's the ostrich syndrome. If they don't see it, it doesn't exist, kind of shit.
They're making a Scooby-Doo prequel animated film
without Matthew Lillard.
Well, it's all animated. It's all.
Speaking of Scream,
well, but like they got the same voice actor as Scooby. It's Frank Welker again from the live action one. So why can't it be Shaggy? He's been doing it for 20 years. What about my boy Matt? I've talked about Magic the Gathering with that guy several times as I've served him food. He's a dope dude with a cute family. He should continue to make money off the Scooby-Doo franchise.
Sure, he sure should. Anything else?
No, he lives in Pasadena, so I work in 2 restaurants in Pasadena. I see him.
Oh, an actor lives in California. Yeah, That's crazy.
Okay, fine, whatever. You dick.
Tell me more about these actor people that live near you.
On my birthday, I shook hands with the guy who played Roy on The Office.
Oh, he was the deaf tight end from Replacements.
Oh yeah, and he was in Brightburn earlier this year too. I forgot about that.
Oh yeah,
I haven't thought about the Replacements in forever. Keanu Reeves, right? If I remember.
That's a cut right there. Well done.
So, news. What else?
There's not much else unless you want to talk about the fact that they're putting the cart ahead of the horse for already announcing there's a second Dune film in the works, and yet they just. I'm like, Denis makes really expensive, amazing movies that don't make their money back. So they're banking on this being the next Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter or something, which I do feel like it has the possibility to be. There is an insanely big following for those books, those Frank Herbert stuff, and. But I don't know. I mean, just don't Dark Universe that and say, oh, we're doing this and we're doing a corresponding television series and we already have the sequel film in development. And I mean, I'd be sad if I didn't see Children of Dune. But
when I saw the stuff for Blade Runner 2049, I was like, oh, this is going to be huge. And it's incredible. What do you know? And it was incredible, but nobody went to see it. Not nobody, but it.
Love that movie. I'm happy Deacon finally got the Oscar though. That was great.
I literally jumped for joy. It's like, God damn, it's about time.
Justice for Deacon.
Mike, $5 in the super chat. Thank you, Mike. We appreciate it. Oh, you could have dropped some words. You could have said something. Appreciate it.
Say something that you want to hear me say that's embarrassing, and I'll say it, Mike.
We already know your embarrassing stories, Lindsey.
I could get even more embarrassing, sir. You got nothing.
Yeah. It's frightening. It's frightening that they're. Do we have a release date on Dune?
I believe it's next Christmas.
Next Christmas.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is such a effects-heavy movie, and you guys have seen the cast for it and everything, and I believe it's December 2020, but let me
December 18th, 2020.
Wow.
Yep, exactly.
Taking that Star Wars date.
Fun fact, it's rated a 6.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
Already, huh?
Of course it is. But I mean, Timothy Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Oscar Isaac, Josh Brolin, Dave Bautista, Zendaya, Stephen McKinley, Jason Momoa, Javier Bardem, Hans Zimmer scored the mofo. I mean,
Stellan
Jesus,
Skarsgård.
guys. Yeah.
This is a great cast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see.
Yeah,
I hope it's I hope it's kick-ass, and I'm sure it will be. But will it make the money?
Yeah,
I've got a year to watch the original Dune. I can handle that. I think.
I haven't seen the original
Honestly,
either.
what you need to watch is the two that they did on the Sci-Fi Channel, because they were these little like mini series event type things. First one, decent, good world building, but the second one that has James McAvoy in it is much better, and the production values were raised a little bit. It's good. I actually really love
The only thing
show.
I have seen Dune related is Jodorowsky's Dune, which is a documentary that was quite
heard that's
interesting.
good.
It is.
I should see that.
It's interesting.
Oh yeah, Floyd was gonna score it. You had H.R. Geiger working on designs and stuff. Like it could have been amazing.
It
was not meant to be.
It's one of those what if movies, and you just hear in the like that Superman Returns documentary. Just
rest peacefully, my dude.
Yeah.
Schnepp. Yeah.
Oh, you mean John Schnepp was. Yeah,
it's awesome.
Superman Lives, right? Not Superman
Yeah.
Returns. So we got Superman Returns.
Yeah,
right?
it was called the Death of Superman Lives. What happened?
Yes.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I own a copy of it. I personally bought it from Schnepp when I interviewed him. After I got done interviewing him, I was like, dude, I want a poster in a movie. And he's like, yeah, man. He was a big metalhead.
That's awesome.
So, I mean, he worked on Metalocalypse and a couple other different things. He was great, man. Yeah, it's sad.
Rest in peace, man. You're missed.
So, speaking, we held off, and this is probably we're breaking the ice, and it's going to be something like this for the next 6 weeks or so, to some degree. But Disney Plus officially launches tomorrow, and The Mandalorian. We're getting a couple of episodes, and it's television. So, oops. We're going to talk about television.
I'm excited, guys. We're going to explore a Star Wars musician making his way through the galaxy playing his mandolin. I never thought we'd ever see this. This is the Star Wars I've been wanting for. No, seriously. I'm excited. It'll be good. I don't want another streaming service in my life, but I'm sure it'll be a good show.
What is it? $7 a month or something like that?
It's going to go up.
Or $69.99 for a year. So.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you can bundle it with Hulu and ESPN Plus, apparently, which is what I'm probably going to do, because I already have Hulu, and I know I'm going to get this, and it's only $12.99 for the bundle, so I'm just like, give me some sports stuff for free. Why not?
What?
It's literally a cable package.
Yeah.
And that's eventually what it. I mean, we're spending more on our streaming services collectively. I mean, but I watched that trailer for the Shyamalan series coming to Apple TV Plus, and I'm just like, God damn it.
Yeah.
You know what we should do? We should start the Movie Pass for streaming services, where for like $50 a month we give you access to like any 7 streaming services or something like that. But there's like, you have to watch it on your phone, and there's like, I don't know. So
it's called using your friend's password. That's what.
Oh, okay, fine. I don't know. I'm trying to make us all billionaires, but no, shoot, man.
I need my uncle's Disney Plus password. Is there anything? Is there anything else that's day one that people are at all talking about, or is it just pretty much Mandalorian?
Pretty much, yeah. Well, I mean, you can finally watch Swiss Family Robinson and how well those pirate characters have aged, probably.
And I watched the Black Hole movie because I love that one.
I haven't seen that movie in 25 years. I would watch the shit out of Black Hole.
Seriously.
I'm trying to think like what. I guess it has the Marvel catalog. What is Disney Plus offering day one other than The Mandalorian?
Not Aliens, because that's in the vault. I'll tell you that. Yeah.
I'm trying to. Okay, so the original shows day one are going to be High School Musical, the series. Wow. The Mandalorian. You've got Marvel's Hero Project. You've also got The World According to Jeff Goldblum, which I am actually intrigued about. That's the one. It's almost like a Travel Channel-y type show where Goldblum just like goes all over the place and Goldblums it up like a Goldbloomy Goldbloomer.
Life finds a way.
Yeah. Boy, nothing else really of note. The original. Okay, so that live-action Lady and the Tramp movie is apparently going to be available day one tomorrow.
That's right.
Oh, really?
I forgot that was Okay.
I forgot about that too. Yeah.
Huh.
And then you've got your animated movies like Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, Pinocchio, Fantasia. So mostly like vault classic type stuff that's tougher to buy now. Dumbo, Bambi. Ooh, the Tres Caballeros. I love that one. That's fun.
Wow.
Adventures of Ichabod and Mr. Toad, Cinderella, Alice in Wonderland. So yeah, more so classic Disney animated fare. As I look at this list, actually, it looks like just about every animated Disney film.
We have to get
all of
Mutants.
all of the 2D stuff and all the Pixar stuff.
If
if
they're releasing a Lady and the Tramp film on Disney Plus, they have to release New Mutants. There's what are you worried about? Bandwidth? What's the risk?
There's been word they're gonna dump it on Hulu.
Well,
is what I've heard, that they wouldn't put it on Disney Plus because it's a Fox property as opposed to a Marvel Disney property. But yeah, obviously we have no truth to speak of to that. But yeah, the whole Pixar catalog is on there.
Okay.
Lots of the old Disney live action movies, including Swiss Family Robinson, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Davy Crockett.
Nice.
Probably Herbie will be on there, I would imagine. That was Disney, right?
I think so. Yeah, it was Lindsay Lohan. That has to be. Oh no, that's the
Mary
new
Poppins.
One, the
Yeah. 1969's The Love Bug. I was right. Yeah. So I mean, all of the stuff, which is all the vault stuff, it looks like pretty much the stuff that is pretty much inobtainable at this particular point. And you'll also have stuff like Willow, Who Framed Roger Rabbit,
Nice.
White Fang.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of it.
Sister
will
Act,
Gargoyles be on it?
Rookie of the Year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Three Musketeers.
So does that mean Touchstone movies are on there then?
Probably.
I think quite possibly, yeah. Sister Act is on here. I'm not sure if that was Touchstone or not, but
Yeah, all right.
but I can't say I'm that excited about all of these old titles on there. I mean, really, the stuff that's the most intriguing is any sort of new content, and all of the big Marvel stuff isn't coming until I believe next year. So
Yeah, for me, it's Mandalorian. Is Mandalorian a show worth $7 a month? Is the big question.
I mean, can you just wait for it all to be released and then just sign up for a binge it in a day, then cancel it? So
Probably. I'm hoping my uncle gets it so I can just do that too.
Well, there's some animated Star Wars I've wanted to catch up on, like Clone Wars, Rebels, Resistance. That's all on here.
And aren't they?
As well as all the weird Lego movies.
They're resuming that too, aren't they? Aren't they re-picking up Clone Wars?
They are doing another season of Clone Wars, which is super cool.
That's interesting.
And then they're even having old Marvel shows like Spider-Woman from 1979.
Whoa.
X-Men animated series, Fantastic Four, Hulk. X-Men Evolution. So I mean, there's if this is stuff you either have never seen or haven't watched in years, there's a decent selection of older titles. But as far as fresh new things, it really looks like the big things tomorrow are going to be Lady and the Tramp and Mandalorian and High School Musical, the musical series.
So plenty of stuff to not go see Charlie's Angels for this weekend.
Yes. Stay home and watch the Cheetah Girls, the Disney Channel original.
Do you guys have any plans to watch anything this weekend?
Well, I definitely have to watch Lady and the Tramp to see if they once again have a white lady singing "We Are Siamese."
If you please, we are Siamese. If you don't, please.
And probably Mandalore too, or at least some of. I guess the 2 episodes. What are the movies that are opening this weekend again?
Yeah, Ford v Ferrari.
So this
Charlie's
weekend,
Angels.
Ford v Ferrari, Charlie's Angels, and then also, one that we didn't mention that I am moderately interested in, just because it's got such great actors in it, is The Good Liar, which I believe is Ian McKellen and Helen Mirren, and he's like this shyster swindler who tries to romance Helen's character and like take her money. And it looks like an interesting psychological thriller of sorts. The trailers I've seen looked intriguing, although I have not seen a lot of critical buzz about it. So it's 67% on Rotten Tomatoes from what it says here. So not totally like beat up on, but yeah, Mirren and McKellen, the two of them, having this pseudo romance and then finding out that McKellen's character is some sort of sinister shyster. That's probably an A-list for me. I wouldn't want to pay full price for it, but since I've already seen Ford v Ferrari, and I might still go to that free screening of Charlie's Angels, yeah, that's one that I would A-list this week. Is probably The Good Liar. So
yeah, Motherless Brooklyn is out there. I'm hoping to.
Yeah, I do need to see that.
To find a reason to see that, directed by Edward Norton.
Well, yeah, I just because Edward Norton is legendary for like just taking over sets.
I was just going to say he apparently
Notorious
took
for
over
it.
American History X, which is a really good movie. So I'm wondering.
Yeah. What's he do when he's actually got directorial control? It's kind of a fascinating idea. Has that
Speaking
ever happened
of
before?
Edward Furlong, right?
Oh wow, yeah.
He was in that too. Yeah.
Wow.
The scene in the bathroom at the end with him and spoilers, and him getting killed is just soul-crushingly sad.
Brutal movie. Which, by the way, another movie that probably fits today. You could just kind of throw it on the television and it still speaks. Go figure.
Still, yeah, poignant topic for sure.
The Edward Furlong movie where he's like playing a video
Brain
game.
Scan.
Yeah,
I just watched that for the first time recently. That movie is awesome.
I love
so
that.
Awesome.
Really good time.
Oh.
Cody and I keep toying around the idea, like we're going to review it together. It's just, life happens, and we.
No, the soundtrack's great, and it's bloody, and it's very like hair metally early '90s of the era, but
mid '90s. Computer tech is really fun. Mid 90s computer tech from movies is just like, come on, like that.
And that like butler that answers the phone for him is like in the computer.
Yeah, dial brain scan.
He's the total creep spying on the cute girl next door, and she likes it.
Oh yeah,
90s.
yeah. You could totally do that.
A lot of that
now,
behavior
too.
was justified in the 80s and 90s.
Oh, so much so, yeah.
Stalking is fine.
Glorify the creepers.
Stalking is fine, just as long as the other party's okay with it.
If you're hot, you can stalk whoever you want, guys.
Yeah. So, Lindsey.
Yes, sir.
You got anything coming up on the channel?
I have an inkling to make a video, but I have to do a lot of research for it. If anyone has ever watched the show Attack on Titan, if you are caught up on it, as in you've seen everything, have you completely caught up, Fuego?
I have seen just a little bit here and there, and I have so many friends who are supremely into it. I saw one of the Japanese live-action films because they made, like 2 or 3 of them, I want to say.
Yeah, and I saw the first one.
And I know Machete was attached to a remake, an American remake at one point that still hasn't happened. But it's a property that I'm familiar with, but that I haven't deep dove into. So
it's very easy anime to get hooked on because it's people using Spider-Man jetpacks to fight giant naked people. So it's instantly like, yeah, I'm kind of down for this. But I have caught up with it in the 3rd season, and oh my god, does it get horrible?
Okay.
Like straight up, just what were you smoking? What is wrong with you? How is this greenlit? What is wrong with everyone connected to this? And I kind of want to do a video on it. We'll see if I do all the research I need to do before I dive into it. But it was once my favorite anime, and now I want to burn it down and forget it ever existed.
Fuego.
So that's what's going on with me.
Ford v Ferrari review probably going up later this evening, and I'm gonna try to get a Mandalorian review up like with the quickness.
Sweet.
Hopefully, I'm actually off tomorrow, so I'm gonna try to binge and 2 episodes. I mean, come on, that's not exactly a binge, but yeah, I'm gonna cruise through those, give my thoughts, and try to get them up as soon as possible sometime tomorrow.
What is the time frame on Dylan's New Nightmare? I think we're gonna have Cecil on next week.
That was the next thing that I was going to mention, is the fact that we did opt to go through another
60 day?
30 plus days.
Okay, that's good.
Yep, exactly. So we got to about half of the intended goal, and we're going to cruise through. I mean, we were debating if we wanted to go, and it's Cecil's project, obviously, writer.
Yeah, we
director.
discussed it a bit when he was
it's
here.
His idea. Yeah. He is the man in my cohort in crime, as I all too often say. Last night we actually did a commentary of the film Southbound, which is a interesting anthology horror from 2015. We're still finishing up all of our Nightmare on Elm Street coverage. We've reviewed all of the films. We still have the remake yet to put out there, but we've done like the comic books that were done by Avatar Press. Wildstorm did a few. Marvel actually did a 2-issue that was supposed to be an ongoing, but just wasn't successful enough. So yes, the Freddy coverage has been relentless. But if you have any interest in assisting with helping us get to the goal, we have decided to extend it for another 30. And yes, the link is. Well, if you search on Indiegogo, Dylan's New Nightmare, it's a sequel to the 1994 classic Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Yeah, Cecil's going to join us to discuss it and plug it himself. But it's good. It's good to see that he's taken the extra month, and it's good to see Freddy.
I can't wait.
Not enough Freddy. Too much. I'll watch my mouth. I'm going to say it. Too much Jason, and
and yet we haven't seen Jason in forever. But as far as the fan films go, there are so many Jason fan films, and I mean, we're still getting Michael Myers on the big screen, and we just got a re-envisioning of Chucky, and then there's still the Child's Play television series that is apparently being worked on. So concurrently, two different that. We need Freddy Krueger. He's still my favorite slasher. He's Cecil's favorite as well. And I can at least speak for him in that regard, that he is mutually our personal favorite and is for many others as well. And people are, I don't know, they're hungry to see some slash-tastic awesomeness with that crazy claw. So.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah. No, we get these Friday the 13th games every now and again. What would a Nightmare on Elm Street game be like? Where you're like trying to just not die. Yeah, and like Freddy's like jumping out of walls at you and stuff like that, and there's like literally you just have to just hide and not get killed. That sounds terrifying. I'd play that.
I liked fighting as him in Mortal Kombat. That was fun, and I think they put him in. Yeah. And I think they put him in what, Dead by Dawn or one of those games recently.
Oh, Dead by Daylight, is he in that now?
Dead by Daylight. I believe so. I mean, they've been putting all kinds of horror icons in that.
You could take like the GTA. Platform, the way that GTA plays. I mean, because they have that like when you're drunk, and have that be dreams, and just open world where you're just doing mundane stuff. But sometimes you can't tell if you're sleeping, and if you're sleeping, you gotta run from Freddy. I don't know. I don't have my finger on the pulse of games.
No, that sounds fascinating, and maybe even like a fun D&D campaign. Maybe I'll throw some friends through for Halloween next year. Actually, that might be kind of cool. I don't know. I'm just thinking aloud.
Which is odd. Speaking of games, Outlast 2, which is nothing new, is free on PlayStation Network, and we downloaded it. And Emily's never played it. I've never played it. We might do a little bit of a playthrough on the channel. So. Our first experience will happen on the channel.
Hell yeah.
Just to quickly echo Mike Governale, he says Never Hike Alone was my favorite Jason film. No disrespect. No disrespect there at all. In fact, the director and cinematographer of that film are the ones who are assisting Cecil with Dylan's New Nightmare. So I think that gives this project some merit. So please, everybody, jump over and check out the Indiegogo. We supremely appreciate it. I'm not knocking my microphone.
Mike,
that's how much you appreciate it. Get out of here, Mike.
Yeah, no, Mike. The guy who directed it is producing. The guy who directed Never Hike Alone is producing Dylan's New Nightmare. So
Vincent DeSanti, and we got Renee Rivas, who helped him with the project shoot it. Is going to shoot the film. So. Pretty stoked, man.
So that about does it for this week. I just want to thank everybody in the chat for being nice and civil. We're just moving forward here. That is it. putting our feet forward. Hopefully everybody's on the same page. And again, no need to speak ill of anybody else. Let's just look forward to tomorrow and next week and all that other stuff. Which Cecil might be joining us. So there's that to look forward to. We haven't had a guest on this show in a while, but there's that.
Yeah, it'd be fun to have Cecil on. I can't wait. That'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, because I haven't seen enough of Cecil in the last couple of weeks. I'm gonna see some more. Guy stained my couch. I'm kidding.
Is that a euphemism?
I'm kidding. No,
I'm kidding.
My couch is pleather. I don't even know if it's unstainable. So, for Fuego and Lindsey, I have been CP. You haven't, and we'll see you next week.